Welcome everyone to Grape Finance's weekly AMA. My name is Nikki and I'm here with LB as always. LB, welcome.
Hey guys, thanks for listening in and all your questions.
Yeah, and we've got some good questions today. And we're going to simply start with EBT, who is the god of stolen whistles. And this question, people are so creative these days.
Yeah.
This question has been upvoted by quite a few people, so I guess the answer is going to be important. With the migration of presses, will it be better to wait to compound after the migration, or would it be better to keep compounding until migration?
Well, I guess this is because we're going to do the grape horse nodes will end. The grape min one will migrate. But in that one you don't get any compound bonus. So really it's up to you. But the more you claim, obviously, the less allocation you get, which means that the less you'll get in the press. Up to you what you want to do on that. And it's pretty much the same for grape nodes. I did mention last week that we may migrate grape nodes to a press. That's not 100% finalized. So I'm not 100% sure whether we'll do that or not. We may make a new contract for it or to a press or something like that. But it works. It's just like the same idea. If you claim, then you're reducing your allocation for whatever you migrate to. And if you compound, well, then you're staying in the pool. And with the grape nodes, you're increasing your allocation more so than you would be doing than not doing anything. And that will translate to the next migration or whatever. So it's up to you what you feel you want to do. If you feel like you want to exit, well, then obviously you claim. If you feel like you're not sure, if you feel like you'd want to stay in the pool and then get as much as possible for the next migration, well, then you'd probably want to either stay in the pool or compound or avoid claiming. But it's up to you.
Yeah. So what you're saying basically is that if you're going to stay anyway, you might as well just really stay. But if you as normal, if you want to get out, then claim.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's very clear. So for those people who want to stay in who want to make use of any kinds of new contract, whether Great Mim is going to become a press or not, which remains to be seen. So, but if you want to make use of that, you'd better just stay. That's it.
To keep your allocation, basically. So if you claim, well, then you're reducing your allocation.
Yeah.
Now you're getting yield now, and obviously that's going to take away from any allocation that you get in a migration. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's very clear. All right, then we move on to Neat Grape, who says, "Hi, Legolas's bow, Legolas." But yours is bow though, not Legolas, but his bow. Do you know how many degens, if any, have been liquidated in Vinium so far? Is it still just you, or?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's just me. Everybody is maintaining pretty good health ratios.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not too much degening going on. So I mean, that's probably good. We also had the market went up a bit over the last sort of 2 weeks or whatever. So it would be kind of hard to get liquidated. So,
maximum shorting.
yeah, true.
That would do it.
I'm pretty sure it's just only I've been liquidated.
All right. So far, you're the greatest degen still. All right. Moving on to a final Neat Knowledge. Neat Knowledge. That's cool. Okay. Hey, LB. How are you, mate? How do you see the future of our ecosystem? I listen that you are thinking about some hard pack of grape. In this case, without Senior's model, wine would not print anymore. What kind of role would it have in that case? Okay, so I'm going to cut this in in a few things. Like, does that mean that wine would not print anymore, or what? If not, then what do you mean?
Well, I mean, it's obviously if we don't have seigniorage, we don't have grape being emitted, or we change grape to a hard peg. Well, then we can't just print it out of nowhere for we can't just print it out of nowhere, basically. But there isn't a set stone of what. There's a few options that we can do, and I'm thinking through the logistics of what would make the most sense, and kind of how we can do it, and then going through with it, because the point is basically, if we are a stable coin, well then we can't really just be above peg all the time, which just so that we can print, just so that you can sell the prints. I mean, it doesn't really make sense. Like, what's really the point of that? You know what I mean? The point of it in the beginning is obviously to bootstrap the distribution, but once you reach a stage, especially when you're below peg, you don't want more distribution, and so the point is that what's really the point of being above peg just so you can print more of this token, just so you can sell it? That's more of like an income play, which is like, well, then we may as well just do a yield farm or something like that. You know what I mean? And if we come to a hard peg, well, then we won't be above peg, which means that you won't be printing the token. The token would be essentially created through using collateral behind it. But the thing is that wine has always been a revenue share. Like, a seigniorage is a revenue share. It's not. It's like its own thing. It is. Seigniorage is part of the revenue that the protocol earns through minting a token. And that's what you get. So it's essentially, we just move from earning grape when above peg to earning fees from everything in the ecosystem that earns fees, and that may also be other token emissions too. But at the same time, its role doesn't actually change. It just changes what it earns, really.
But does that close down that loop that I described in one of the videos? Like, hey, you can get grape from the winery and then pair it with MIM and then borrow against that X grape that you just created. Or does that get closed down because of that? Or is it how is this gonna work together with the Vinium? Like, does it have these cool use cases that initially were the cool promising thing? Like, hey, you have a seigniorage and then you combine it with lending and borrowing so that you can do cool stuff with that, like realizing unrealized gains without selling them.
Yeah, well, I mean, that is the idea, but at the same time, we have to be realistic, where we can't just like print forever this token out of thin air, and especially during bear market, and as well, just make money out of thin air and use and then borrow against that to never sell. I mean, we kind of have to be a little bit realistic. We can look at other one of the prime benefits of X Grape as collateral here right now is, which we'll be moving to very soon, is that it's yielding in the background, and that's really the whole point of Vinium, was like yielding assets being used as collateral for hyper capital efficiency of borrowing and lending. Yeah. So you are using your yielding assets to borrow as collateral, to borrow non-yielding assets that you can then use to buy more yielding assets, or de-risk or hedge or something like that. And that's a very powerful feature, and I think that's kind of what the goal of Vinium is really is using grape as an example of that. To kind of bootstrap that almost. And we also we can look at other algo stables in the market. I mean, I'm pretty sure the pretty much the only successful one I've seen that isn't mostly controlled through emissions is Beanstalk, and they've maintained peg very well throughout algorithmically, no collateral. But you can look at their emissions and their printing, and it's very very small. It's it's like 3% a year, not daily.
Oh yeah.
So so the idea of being able to print a percent a day and being able to keep up with that, which because it exponentially increases as the supply increases, is difficult without a bear market. So in other words, we need to taper that in other words, or migrate to a hard peg mechanism. So there's a few options that we were thinking about. Keep algorithmic and then still allow seigniorage, but it would be very different to the current seigniorage where it's like 1% a day. You know what I mean? Because that's just not viable in the long run. It's very good to bootstrap it, but not in the long run. So yeah, I mean, seigniorage is still an option. Like we still have, there's still an option to keep a seigniorage model, as mentioned, but it would be much less emissions and would be actually kind of focused more on actually maintaining a peg rather than being above peg just to print more of the token. You know what I mean? Which is not really, doesn't really make sense in the if we're trying to actually make a stable coin. It makes sense if we're trying to make like a yield platform, which is a little bit different.
Yeah, I see what you mean. If your goal is a stable coin, then the seigniorage model is a bit too volatile, as it were. Okay, I do get that. And then wine would become the revenue sharing token. So staking wine would make people get the revenue, whatever the revenue is going to be, or at least parts of it. And then Grape would be might become a hard pack token. How would it get from its current pricing, which is around 10 cents, a little bit over? How would it get from that to where it needs to be if the promise is not going to be, hey, at pack we're going to print again?
Well, we'd have to, because Grape is also renounced, we'd probably have to do a migration where we migrate LPs to a different token that we can actually print and control through a different contract. In other words, because obviously we're very limited right now with a renounced contract to what we can do, even if we keep with an algorithmic model. We'd have to. It'd be actually very difficult to keep the current contract and have the system that we need. In other words, to actually maintain a peg properly. Because right now, obviously, you can only the treasury contract can print Grape. It's only that contract that can issue bonds, and it only goes to the boardroom or the winery, and there's no there's no way around that, basically. So we can't allocate, we can't add other parameters in there to, say mint and burn based on these factors. We'd have to add, a layer of abstraction there. So in other words, we'd likely going to have to do a migration where we migrate LPs and Grape, in other words, to whatever the new thing is, like Grape V2 or whatever. Not V2, but you know what I mean. Like not like a V2 tune fork, you know what I mean. But like Grape hard peg coin or Grape soft peg or something like that.
Yeah, some new name that fits. All right, and then we've gone through a similar thing with BRR going to Celestial. The way we chose back then was to simply state that whatever the price was the old price of cash was would be irrelevant, because in a new valuation the price would be either the price of BRR or cash or one BUSD, because that one is back to BUSD. That would be a certain kind of revaluation. In this case, a positive one. Of course, some people sold into it. It still went up, but people sold into it. Some people always going to be doing that, even though that removes them of the promise of printing. But there's also the other form of revaluation where you would state, hey, we're just going to revaluate so that the new token is going to be at 1, but you're going to need 10 Grape to get to one new token. Like, what's on your mind here? Where are you looking to go, or have you simply not decided, or no thoughts yet?
Yeah, it's not. We don't have a decision yet. We're looking at likely trading in LP tokens, because then we get we can also get POL from that, and then we can actually manipulate the LP, the price in the LP itself, and then trade that back for give that back to whoever gave it in, basically. And then that can be staked in another pool, which like a peg maintenance pool or something like that. Depending on which way we do it. So not decided yet.
All right. Well, that's clear. We're just looking forward to ideas that come for this, to see where we're going. The other question was, if we stick to this model, how do you think that we can solve the pack problem kind of permanently? It's clear that Grape, which aims to be stablecoin, stays at 0.1 of pack during months, it's a problem. Yeah, this is kind of what we were discussing and addressing, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the only actual successful algo stable that I've seen is Beanstalk, and their emissions are very small, and they're much less degen. They're much less focused to degens, and they're actually kind of focused on actually maintaining a one to one rather than being above peg. Which a lot of people in Doom Forks, they're kind of like, I'd rather not be at 1. I'd rather be at 120.
Yeah. But that's logical for the senior model. It makes sense to want to be above that, be as high as possible.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. We have had times where Grape went up to $5 or something.
Oh yeah.
Interesting. Good time. Yeah. Okay, and thanks so much for keeping working so hard as you are doing. Props to you. Nidwen is asking, hey guys, regarding moving Grape nodes to a press, if that were to happen, what is even the point of compounding now? Will that give us advantage once migration happens, i.e. a higher starting APR, or is there basically no point?
We kind of covered this in the beginning. It was like basically if you so if we do any sort of migration, as I said, we're not even we haven't fully decided that we're moving grape nodes to a press yet. So that's not set in stone. But at the same time, any sort of migration would be based on how much remaining you have in the pool. So if you claim, obviously you're removing your allocation from the pool, which therefore means that you'll get less in any migration. If you compound, well then, especially in the grape nodes, you actually increase your amount in the allocation in the pool compared to claiming or doing nothing, and therefore you would get more of a allocation in the migration. But it's really up to you, depending on what you want to do and depending on what you feel is right for you. So yeah.
All right. Then we move on to Peter Flea, who says, "Fam, got big love for you. LB, you are a champ. I must say though, the grape and wine prices are dismal, and with a recession and bear continuing next year, what will stop wine going to 3, 2, 1? You get my point. Wine press wise, trying to figure out to take gains out now or not. Can't see a bottom in price, can you? We need to make this thing sexy and strong like a GMX or GNS, referring to strength in tokens and not comparing protocols. Guys, I'm still here and here since January, but I feel we need a plan to stop the bleed." That is, I would say that's very nicely formed. Like it's addressing something that is, I think, in the minds of a lot of people. So yeah, let's discuss this.
Well, here's the thing. Basically, obviously GMX and GNS have very good tokenomic designs. They don't have extreme inflation. GMX, I'm pretty sure, doesn't give you anything. They give you extra escrowed tokens, which you can vest for over a year. So they're basically giving you nothing. But they're giving you ETH, which is why people like it. So, I mean, that's kind of the idea. That's kind of where we're going, is we're moving from giving you some random token that you're just going to sell to giving you, a share of USDC, USDT. These are actual tokens which you can sell at them if you want. It doesn't hurt the protocol at all. Another big problem with Tomb Forks in general is extreme inflation in the share coin, especially. The share coins are obviously always fixed in supply, but they inflate very heavily, and that will continue, obviously, unfortunately for wine, until early next year, which is not too far away, actually. So when it gets to that point, well, then there is absolutely no more inflation and no more added sell pressure that comes out of nowhere daily. So you can even look at things like Dex Finance. They've done a great job staying above peg, I think, for the whole time, which you would think would be, wow, that'd be great for the share price. But in reality, the share price has kind of gone down, and it's really because it's a highly inflationary token. The token is a reward token. It's given out, and it's given out as a reward, basically, to sell almost. So, and that's basically what wine has been this year too. Basically, it's given out in the farms, incentivize LPs, and given out to sell. And you can, the added use case is you can stake that when above peg to earn another token to sell. So, but if that isn't there, well, then your only option for any sort of yield is basically to sell the reward token, which is wine. So in other words, that token will stop emitting mid-January, which means no more inflation, which means fixed supply, and we'll obviously be transitioning to once we step up the multi-chain release, then you'll be earning actual non-native tokens like USDT, C, AVAX, ETH, and all these things, from staking wine. So in other words, it's keeping the model of, as you say, GMX, but without any token inflation, which is a very big thing. I think people overlook that a lot, and they, if the token's inflating a lot, well then, that's like not good for the price, obviously. So if it doesn't meet the demand, obviously. So and GMX, they're turning off their escrowed GMX anyway soon. So they have a very good model. And their model is basically, we'll give you ETH or we'll give you AVAX by staking this token instead of giving you more of this token. In other words, which is great. I mean, that's kind of like what we want to do too. So yeah,
that is absolutely a good model, I would say, and I'm actually very happy that we're moving towards that. So basically, what you're saying is that wine used to allow people to print grape, and for the last half year or so, something like half a year, it hasn't been able to do that because faith in grape has fallen. And as you said in the last AMA, like that has coincided with one of the worst things that happened to both of us personally in this space, I would say. Like it was around that time. And since then, grape hasn't recovered yet, and therefore wine has essentially been a token of faith, like faith in the future of grape. And that's not necessarily bad because I think there's still kind of a, there are still a lot of people who have faith or good faith in the future of grape, but it's difficult to maintain that over a long period of time if you don't see any yields, and I think that's what people are asking after. However, right now, as you say, we are transitioning to a new situation where the yields aren't. It doesn't need to be above pack to get you yields. However, this situation is not in situ yet. It's not there yet. So that would mean that right now might very well be somewhere like the lowest use case that wine has ever had. Like it's been a non-functional token for months, but it's not going to be for much longer. So, and of course, as you say, it's inflating, and it has been inflating all of that time. And people still decided to sell, which I can't really fault them for. Like I've not sold under $150. I would never do that, but maybe even 200. I don't know, but under that price, I wouldn't sell. Like because I still would say that Grape is a great protocol, and I don't want to get rid of wine for such idiotic prices, but it's hard to maintain that vision to be this have this true investor mindset and say, hey, I see the vision for this protocol or for this group of people who build there, instead of going for immediate rewards, because I think a lot of people go for immediate rewards and try to want to see these degen yields.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
But
liquidity is tight. It's a bear market, and people need liquidity. In a bull market, people are more likely to sit and stay and kind of allocate around. But in a bear market, people are more likely to take liquidity when they can because they need it for margin calls or for bills to pay or for covering losses here or there. So it's it's the same thing. Like this is why you've seen like almost every token is down heaps from January. Is because people selling. They move to stable coins. They want to risk off, and Tim Fork shares a very high risk. they're they're the least risk off. In not the least risk off, but they're one of the least risk off. They're in degen zones, so it's it makes sense. Like it's a logical thing, especially if you're not earning extra yield on top of it from the winery and whatnot. So
Yeah. And there's like I wanted to conclude somewhere that I actually forgot what I wanted to conclude with, but that's okay.
No,
that's okay. It's okay. I mean, we're having a conversation, discussion about this, and I think that's valuable. But if we're no longer looking at the bag, that also means that wine can be an asset that is interesting regardless of what, for example, the dollar is doing or what the bag is going to do. And that would be absolutely marvelous, I would say, because there's a lot of uncertainty right now in the market with all of the central banks seemingly being insolvent, especially European central bank right now. But the Fed isn't doing much better, and the Canadians are already down bad, and the Bank of England is not doing great, and also the Australian bank. None of them are doing well.
None of them.
So, so hyperinflation has a real chance of being around the corner, and therefore looking at dollars and seeing those assets as valuable within themselves might not be the way to go anymore. Might want to look at what something can do, and I would say a lending and borrowing protocol is fairly agnostic when it comes to what asset it likes the most, and it just goes for trade or it goes for lending and borrowing, basically. So getting revenue from that might be way better or a way better hedge even than anything in stable coins or dollars can do right now. So I would say that wine does receive an upgrade from this, even though it seems that the degen yields are behind us and therefore it might become useless. But I don't think that's the case. I just do think that right now the price, it's under $4. That is really low, and therefore, and it's unsure, of course, if the bottom is in. But I would say that as soon as this protocol is starting and like starting by which I mean like really coming to steam, so to speak, then that's when the use case of wine is much clearer again, and therefore you might just consider these to be excellent entry prices, like over the longer run, not necessarily between now and next month. You might be right, might go to 3. Or even worse. I mean, it has done so in the last couple of months, so we might say it's going to be different. But wine is no longer going to be printed, so it's either have or have to buy later on. And there's really no real reason except for having to liquidate to let go of it later. So I would say these are fairly good prices as I see it. I personally just keep the wine I have and just look forward to these rewards. That's great. As for grape, I really wonder what we're going to move towards, what it's going to be like, because since there's no clear direction yet, it's hard to see. But I do trust you because you've always done that. You try to do good by the investors and try to keep grape as a valuable asset, even if it's going to be transitions into something else. But,
we've got bring it a new life, basically something that isn't just like a reward token to sell, basically. You know what I mean? It's we have to bring it some actual use that is a valid use. In the DeFi space, we do have plenty of use cases for it, but at the same time, they're also more very tied to our ecosystem and not branching out. And as well, we have it being an algorithmic coin as well means it's less desirable from the beginning, because we get back to the Luna thing.
Yeah, since Luna, yeah.
Not too keen on that sort of idea, which makes sense. There's valid reasons for it, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, considering that, I mean, recently Owen sent me an info chart like about Grape and Magic working together with their game, and I would say if stuff like that comes up and comes up more, then it's absolutely beautiful to have the Grape family use their tokens and stuff like that, because it's just cool stuff.
Yeah, well, we'll be obviously, Owen is a good friend of ours, and we'll be working with them closely on that Magic world.
Yeah.
It's sort of GameFi side too, so that's not ending.
No, we're going to be a faction.
Yeah.
Fighting against the other faction. It's pretty cool. All right. Neat Grave says, "Hey, Leather Bandana. I was going to come up on stage and ask you a few things, but our last COVID round 2 has kicked my ass, so I'm asleep. Hey, get better soon, man. I hope you will. Instead, I'll ask, when X-Grape Pool, Corker Mint, Lambo, Grape Convention?" Let's go to one of those. I think Corker Mint has been discussed a lot in the previous AMA, but in that previous AMA, you said it was going to be somewhere last week. So what happened there?
Well, I mean, I mentioned it's we will. That will come out before Christmas for sure, like a Christmas.
So people can give the Corker Mint as a Christmas gift.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so before Christmas. Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
And X-Ray
then
Pool too, same thing.
X-Ray Pool before Christmas. So we're dreaming of a white X-Ray. Okay.
Lambo, I don't know though.
Yeah, when Lambo? I mean, when? Come on. Let's see. And when Grape Convention? This is an interesting one.
Yeah. I mean, that'd be cool. We did go to the Chainlink event. In New York. And it'd be cool to do a Grape Convention. I don't know where we could do it though, and to kind of accommodate people, because we're all over the place.
We are kind of. Yeah. Maybe something that's easy to fly to. Maybe Singapore or something.
Yeah, true.
Mm-hmm.
Singapore, like or Dubai or something like that.
Yeah. Or we can all fly Emirates. Oh no, that's not. Is Dubai Emirates? Yeah, I think so, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
UAE,
yeah. I like the Emirates flights. They're good. And Dubai is warm as well. Whenever.
Yeah.
It's always warm there.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. All right. MB mentioned during the week that Ethereum was in public beta. So I was wondering if you could talk about the current rough timeline. Rough timeline? No, roughly about the current timeline and the milestones, and what would herald the end of public beta. I like this speak, like what would herald the end of public beta.
Well, I guess it's more of it's a beta now because it's still early stages. We haven't launched the sort of yield farming stage. So I think once we launch the yield farming stage, we'd come out of beta, and that includes isolated pools too. So we're looking at that, to start launching some of the leveraged pools this month, and then next month start deploying on other chains, and then go from there. Basically, go with various new leverage tokens on each chain, because each chain offers different yield opportunities, which is really cool, and that's something that we can take advantage of, and it's something that is kind of like a unique thing almost, because it's like a cross-margined lending platform. You can have regular positions, and then you can also have leverage positions in the one, and they're all using the same health factor, basically, which is a really nice feature to have, to be honest, because you can cover yourself really nicely. You can have extra protections in there for liquidations, even though you are highly levered on one LP, say so. So I guess, to answer that, it's more public beta is like, it's more like a general term to say we've come out of a private beta, and we've launched publicly. It's still public beta, and then we'll be implementing some of the core features this month.
It's sort of like an early access.
yeah, exactly. Before we kind of like start a major push cross chain in the new year. And that's not to say like the software is obviously a work in progress the whole time. You could technically say it's like forever in beta. You know what I mean? Like we always need to continually add new things and updated new features, new chain deployments, new LPs to deliver new sort of order rebalancing systems we can add in, and obviously we have NFT lending as well as like a new feature coming out in the new year. So public beta, just, I guess it's more just like a symbolic word, to be honest.
Yeah, like I'm an avid player of Warhammer 3 Total War, and like the Immortal Empires, which is their culmination of everything.
Nice.
It's still considered to be
It's
in
still
public
in
beta, even though it has been going for months now, and it has had a few updates, and they still call it beta. Like it's sort of like to say, hey. If your game experience is not what you expect it to be, allow us to improve. Like I would say, as we are an evolving protocol, we're always going to improve. So if we're not calling it a public beta anymore, and still would be calling it an actual product, that doesn't mean we're going to stop improving, right?
Exactly.
It's just a word, but I would say NB might have used this to indicate that we're very much at the beginning of this new stage, because that's what it is. It's a new stage of what Grape Finance is about, and what Vinium is about, and everything related to it. We're transitioning, and that is difficult, because some people who fell in love with the old concepts might consider this to be, veering away from their old concepts. But at the same time, that's what innovation is. You just veer away from some things that might have served you in the past very well, but don't anymore. And right now, the senior structure obviously has not been serving us for months. So yeah, I would say that's simply just good movement, so to speak.
Yeah, we have to adapt. We have to adapt and position ourselves.
Adapt or die, survival of the fittest.
Yeah, exactly. I get that too with especially with video games. It's like a big thing to like be in an alpha or a like a beta for like even years.
Yeah. Although I do think it seems stronger to simply say, hey, this is what we've created so far, and of course we're going to improve. But right now, this is what we've got, and it's no longer a beta. It's just whatever delta, alpha, beta, delta. Is that what it is? Just publicized, right? Okay. His last question, Need Grape's last question, was two folks in general have a PAC token and a share governance token that are separate. I was wondering if you could talk about why it is that the share token is used for governance when bundling all the utility possible into Grape seems very important. Someone asked about this in chat last week, this week, and I thought it would be cool to hear your response.
In regards to Toonforks in general, I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, you need utility for the peg, so that there's some sort of token sink or some sort of burn mechanism, like some sort of deflationary mechanism to outweigh the inflation that you have. The 1%, 2% a day of inflation that you have, which is a lot, especially because it's based on the current supply of the token. So as the supply of the token increases, 1% gets more and more all the time, and so it's almost exponentially increasing at a point where you need those token sinks and those deflationary mechanisms need to go into overdrive to keep Grape or the peg token being not just sold to take it below peg, but at the same time wine the share token obviously is a reward token for the LPs, and therefore it's essentially, as we were talking before, its main use case is to incentivize LPs, which is a farm token, to sell the farm token to to incentivize you taking the risk of being an LP. So that is the general idea of it, to reward the farmers. But the benefit of being being a shareholder, is that you can get seigniorage or revenue, in other words, from the protocol. When above peg, you can earn the peg token, newly minted peg token. But you do want more utility as well, and token sinks and deflationary mechanisms for the share token as well. Still very important. It's kind of overlooked, but it's still very important because it is also inflating quite a bit. It's a fixed inflation. It's not like peg inflation. It's a fixed inflation, but it's usually quite rapid because they usually end. Emissions end in a year usually, sometimes less. Which means that you have a lot of tokens emitted in a very short period of time. And, some LPs don't want to join the boardroom to earn seigniorage. They want to take the risk, they want to capitalize on gains right now. But at the same time, you do want that, as I was saying, you do want the utility and deflationary mechanisms for the share, because if the share price is high, then you obviously incentivize the LPs, very easily, because the APR gets boosted very high. And then it's kind of like a nice cycle of, you get more people coming into being LPs, which means they're buying, the peg token and becoming an LP, because the APR is high in the farms, because the share, is, the inflation of the share is being matched with deflation or some sort of utility. And that also pushes the peg higher, which then allows the share to be used as well for seigniorage and revenue share. So it's a nice cycle. When it's working really well, it's really nice to see when it's working really well, because they feed off each other. There's the peg and the share.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. Yeah, it's a nice cycle. It's sort of a game in itself. Like, hey, we're trying to keep the peg high, and if we succeed, then our share token is very valuable because of that. And now that's the game you're playing together with the rest of your community. Like, that's why
Mhm.
people are shouting whenever people are selling a lot. Because hey, you're fucking up our game, right? It's game theory.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, um, so yeah, and then I think it's a very nice model, but it does require growth, and that's yeah. Well, we're not having growth these these months, and the economy isn't looking to have growth in the coming time
Mhm.
either.
Yeah.
So that's why the model would still be able to stand. I do believe that, especially when combined with lending and borrowing, the model, seniorage model, could work. I've written some ideas that would allow it to work, but it needs work. It cannot stand on itself like the Tomb
Mhm.
Forks were able to do about a year ago.
Mhm.
Or back then it was just Tomb, I think. Wait, it's the 11th. Well, maybe the first sports started happening. Okay. Then we move on to the AMA live chat. Let's see what's up here. Pro GBS is weighing. Okay, long live wine. Yeah, I do agree. Long live wine. I faith in wine. Wine to the moon. Yeah, I do think so. Like, yeah, it's fairly low right now, but that's just a great entry point. That's of course, it's still being sold by auto compounders right now. So wine
Mhm.
is a slowly, well, it's continuously being sold because of the auto compounders and maybe some individuals as well. So it might be hard to stick to your wine, but on the other hand, I think selling now, like actively selling, is the most insane thing to do. Like if you do anything with wine right now, it should be buying. Um, because selling now would be saying, okay, well, I'm selling now at 4 and then hoping that it goes down to 3 and then buying in again or something. Oh, that's a play
Mhm.
maybe, but if that's your play, then you should have done that way earlier. uh,
Yeah.
yeah, like no, not this is the end of that play. The end is in sight. Okay. Thailand is cheap for the great convention. Shall we make it great convention? I do like Thailand though. They have these nice islands where you can
Mhm.
chill and have
Yeah.
full moon parties and stuff. Uh, these are good. I'm okay with Thailand. Um, uh, so wine is still the revenue share token, yes, and it will
Yeah.
remain to be. In a few AMAs before, it's even been stated that the intended revenue sharing from the revenue that actually goes to the protocol from Vinium, 50% of that revenue is intended to go to wine holders. That's what's intended.
Mhm.
And no, not 15, 50, 50. um, as in half. Yes, 50. Okay. Um, Chenko, Need X Grape says, Lord Barista, thanks for reducing the cost for Recharge Fitness. However, I've been trialing on 2 different accounts with different PPMs and still not worth to fully recharge using raisins. I'm still using half of my recharge cost towards Avex gas. Any chance of reducing it further to push everyone to use raisins? He says, happy to DM you my calculations if you want to double check. Have you seen the? Oh, wait, there's a different question there. So,
Mhm. It would be good to get that calculation so we can figure out like what's the actual number. There was a graph that was done when we changed it recently, where it was much cheaper than not than unstaking. But there was an even better mechanism of essentially using half and half unstaking tools, I believe, and then recharging and then unstaking and then restaking. It's also it's hard to calculate as well because it's based on gas, which is based on AVAX price, and then also vintage price, and then also Raisin, which has I think four or five different tokens that you can use for it. Depends which token you're going to use for it as well. And we also will be changing to Raisin in the Enoteca as well, so you can earn it there as well by being an LP. So that also may be an option, but it'd be cool to get those calculations so we can lower it. It's very easy to change, so that's something that's good.
All right. So Chanko, you're invited to send your calculations. He's also typing, but I'm going to his last question, which is: have you seen the exploit of Lodestar through their GLP Oracle? By us using Beefy auto-compounded token, would it give us extra security on Vinium? Are these two different questions? I don't see the connection, but maybe you do.
Yeah. I saw this today. Lodestar, they're on Arbitrum. They got siphoned out. And this is kind of why using yield-bearing assets and using assets that are that don't have Chainlink oracles is kind of like a risky business, tricky area because they can be exploited, and they it happens all the time. I'm not fully it's something that I've been that I'm going to go over essentially after this AMA because it's on my list. I saw it today, and I need to go look at essentially the mechanism of what oracle they used first of all, and then how Plutus, which is where they the GLP that they're using, PLGLP, PLV or whatever, and how they get the price of it. Because with the Beefy token, you can't really manipulate that price because the Beefy token is just auto compounding, and it just gives you more and more amount. Like there's no actual LP of it that you can manipulate to get a different price, which may be the case in the PLV because it's like a liquid staking version of it. But yeah, so that's kind of something that we want to avoid, obviously, because I think they got hacked for like 3 million, something like that. Basically, all the money that they had in the other markets was siphoned out using it. So that's why we're probably going to release the Curve Try Crypto pool first, because Curve already has a very good oracle that we can we can integrate with the Chainlink oracle very nicely, and is manipulation resistant, and we don't need to worry about that one. So that we'll probably do. We'll probably do that one first, and then do GLP once I investigate what happened in this one specifically.
Right, so the Curve Try Crypto, that's the one that does DAI E, USDC E, USDT E, Rep BTC.E, and Rep ETH, right?
Yeah. It's and right now it's got pretty good yields on AVAX, 13% to 33% depending on the lock. But you obviously don't need to lock. We'll be using the Beefy token initially, which what are they at right now? I think they're having it at like 14%, which I'm not sure how they calculate and how it's different from.
Yeah, because on Curve it says 5.32%.
Are you on? Are you on the
Curve.
Are you on the
AVAX.curve. Yeah.
On the A Try Crypto? It's
Is it a different one?
Yeah, is there another one? Because what I've got here is 13%. The
Uncurved?
smallest. Yeah.
Apex dot curved? Dot 5? Oh man, what do I miss? Well, maybe I'm just an idiot. That's definitely possible.
No. But no, I think I don't know, it ranges. But anyway, that's uh it's decent yield for what's essentially like an index fund
Yeah.
for crypto. And it's very highly liquid. 4 million, almost 5 million liquidity, which is what we want basically.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's pretty good, and someone who's a savvy user could even say, "Hey, against that collateral, I'm gonna borrow equal amounts of whatever's in there, which is AVAX, BTC, ETH, and use stables really, so that whenever it goes up or down, I won't even have a loss." It's the same as with AVAX and AVAX right now. I've personally been in improving like that. The reason that AVAX gets such a high yield, I think I have something to do with that because I'm borrowing 120 AVAX or something at the moment. But so that slowly over time people will add more AVAX so that I can borrow more. It's good. I like this.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, no more questions are coming. And we've essentially just come to the end of the hour, so that's pretty nice. I like that. Is there anything you would still like to add before we close this?
I think I'll just mention maybe, come to the end of the year. We don't know how I guess like the market will react. I'm not sure if maybe we could even have hit a bottom. It's possible. But if we go over other bear markets in crypto, it's not like you hit a bottom and then we're instantly back into a bull market. You know what I mean?
No, there's going to be a range for months, so it's not longer.
Yeah.
Well,
Exactly.
I did hear an interesting theory quite recently that it's actually USDC or Circle that is in trouble. Because there was a question asked of that person, like, hey, do you fear for USDT? And he said, no. I fear for Circle. Like it's USDC that might be in trouble because, and his reasoning was this, that USDT isn't paying people for using their services. They just, can use their services. And whereas Circle was actively paying people for using their services. And well, that's if you think about that, then it's basically the same model as what Celsius has done, as what FTX has done, and so many DeFi centralized exchanges that have recently failed. So it might be that it's the unlikely character of Circle actually going down. Because that's the thing, right? A lot of people are still expecting at least one more black swan. By this time, we've got so many black swans in the pool that we might just call it a flop. But it's interesting to think of which one it's going to be, right?
I know, right?
If it's going to happen. Oh,
yeah. Well,
but,
it's a tough USDT gets a lot of FUD. All the time. It's basically like all the time. It's they're gonna collapse. They're gonna collapse. I mean, they've been around for a very long time. Actually, I think it's even been almost 10 years. I think maybe 9 years. I think they started 2013. So they've been around for a very long time. Several bull markets, several bear markets. They've lasted through. That's not to say that they have. Yeah.
Considering when they bought their Bitcoin, I think they're probably still solvent if they haven't been able.
Yeah, exactly, right.
I wanted to answer to Neatwine, who says, so DAI and MIM is the only good stable. WTF.
Oh, yeah.
And also a question: why isn't MIM Infinium? Let's answer that soon. But
Yeah.
DAI is a decentralized stablecoin. However, a lot an over collateralized stablecoin. However, a lot of its collateral is USDC. So if USDC would fall, then DAI would take a strong hit. I'm not saying that USDC falls. I just, I was relating a theory of a person who had it recently. MIM, on the other hand, is also a collateralized stablecoin. And that seems to be still doing all right. However, we do need to realize that MIM has been created, of course, by Abracadabra, and they have not started so early as, for example, USDT. So they have started in a bull market, and therefore you might think that the collateral might not be fantastic. But the thing is, it's personal. All of that collateral is personal. So if people, are failing to keep their collateral up, it's just people losing their money, not the protocol. The protocol itself is sound. So MIM might actually be one of the best, together with USDT, which is strange because all of the FUD has been surrounding exactly those. But, but maybe there's a reason, right?
No, MIM is good. They had a little bit of bad debt through UST.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they are still very solvent and they make money. Like there's interest fees. There's I'm pretty sure they have they have fees that they can adjust to. They are slightly backed by USDC, but much less than I think it's like 18%. Yeah, it's much less than DAI. DAI is 30-40% even. And Frax too. Frax is very high USDC collateral. If you want if you want a fully decentralized stablecoin, you can have a look at LUSD, which only uses Ethereum as collateral. But that's only on ETH chain. So
and barely anyone is using it though.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
I mean, it has some decent liquidity, but at the same time, it's only on ETH.
Yeah.
And there's limitations in that.
There's this one question that is actually pretty good. Like, why isn't MIM on Vinium?
Well, we don't have it on the main pools. We may add it in later on. It will be in the isolated pool with Grape, but the main reason is because there's really no liquidity of MIM on AVAX, which is kind of a shame because it kind of just disappeared. I remember there was the memo MIM LP, which had over $10 million.
Yeah.
Over $5 million of MIM on AVAX, and that disappeared. I'm pretty sure. I think they swapped it to USDC, or maybe they swapped out completely. But really, there's hardly any MIM on AVAX, which isn't good if we have a lending protocol. We need to liquidate, and we need MIM. We would need to bridge. There's decent liquidity. There's decent MIM liquidity on Ethereum. There's some on Phantom. Decent on Arbitrum and Optimism, but it's kind of disappeared from AVAX.
Yeah, I'm checking for MIM right now, and the biggest one should be Red AVAX MIM, and that's only 809K at the moment. So it's not even a million. So it's pretty low. And then the second one I think is here's a MIM USDC, but that might be the second one, which is MIM USDC is 2.9K. It's hardly anything, and then it's us. We are there.
I know, right?
So MIM is mostly still on Phantom, where it's wrapped with wrapped Phantom, and on USDC also on Phantom, where they have 1.2 million and 643K. So basically, what we see here is that a lot of the MIM. Oh, here's a big one. Which is this? This chain. What's this chain? Unknown DEX on Arbitrum. There's a 2.3 million there of MIM. So there's still a decent amount of MIM around, but basically it's just the amount of MIM or the supply of MIM has just fallen with the markets, I would say. Like a lot of people just simply had to repay their loan because to save their collateral, and that's basically the way it works. So that would mean that MIM in itself is sound on principle. It's just the liquidity that's a problem for a lending and borrowing platform. So that's why it's not on Vinium right now. That doesn't really mean that MIM itself isn't good to hold, because you can just go to Abracadabra and get your stuff for it. So they're good. They just added MIM to Arbitrum, so it makes sense. So yeah, but who's they though? Arbitrum. Anyway, so MIM is good. It just might not be good at the moment for lending and borrowing, at least not in a general pool, but it's good for an isolated pool, as you say. Okay. Neat Wine wants to start a protest to bring back liquidity. shout at people until you get money. It sounds like YouTube. Okay. But I guess that's it. And thanks everyone for the questions, for the continued support. And well, when it comes to our tokens being low, they are low. But since we are switching, might as well see this as sort of a pivot towards a new situation. And let's just keep our eyes on that and have faith for the future.
Yeah. Exactly.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks everyone for listening in and all your questions. And see you next week.
See you next week. Bye-bye.